Welcome to Defcon 3. I'm KT McFarland. Diplomatic tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran are fueling talk of a possible wider regional conflict. U.S. officials are on alert as one of their chief allies, Saudi Arabia, is facing off against the Iranian regime. Here with analysis is Reva Bhalla, Vice President of Global Analysis at Stratfor. Welcome, Reva. So let's get right to it. Do you think the current sort of diplomatic spat between Iran and Saudi Arabia could escalate?
No, I don't think we're going to see much more of an escalation, especially when we're talking about, potential for direct military confrontation. There are still some very big constraints on Iran and Saudi Arabia when it comes to that kind of a scenario. And, we have to remember that this diplomatic fight that's going on in the wake of the execution and the storming of the Saudi embassy in Iran, this is just one piece of that broader competition that's been playing out for now a very long time between Iran and Saudi Arabia and is surely bound to intensify between Iran and other Sunni players in the region. But, it is still just that one piece in a much bigger game here and many more proxy battles that are going to take a lot more focus from both parties.
Well, Reva, talk to us about the bigger picture then. What we've seen, as you point out, and we're looking at it on our screen right now, is the burning of the embassy and the diplomatic aspect of it. But what else is going on?
Well, so let's use the execution as our trigger here, right? Mm-hmm. With the Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr, he was arrested by Saudi authorities in 2012. If we go back in time to 2012, what was going on there? Well, we were coming off some of the big action out of the Arab Spring. Of course, Saudi Arabia was very concerned then, not just about unrest within the kingdom itself, but the ability of Iran to exploit Shiite activists within Iran's eastern province, which is, of course, vital to the Saudi oil industry and is where you have a majority Shia population. And so the Saudis were cracking down on any hints of Shiite unrest. And Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr is a very charismatic religious leader, and so he was a natural target. But now, when we fast forward to today, what's going on, we see the United States and Iran, they have a working relationship. We have Iran, now being able to economically rehabilitate itself through the finalization of the nuclear deal. And we have an array of Sunni players, not just Saudi Arabia, but mm-hmm. Turkey as well, most notably, and a coalition of other Arab players, whose primary intent is now to counterbalance Iran's actions in the region through proxy battles, economic measures, and other things. And so that, I think, is the broader picture that we have to keep in mind when we take something as distinct as this execution.
Reva, historically the United States has been closer, or at least the last 30 years, has been closer to the Sunni Arab countries, Saudi Arabia, the Gulf Arabs. And yet now, with the Iran nuclear deal, it looks like we're switching sides, that President Obama has opened a relationship with Iran at the expense of the Sunni Arabs. Have we switched sides in this?
So it's not switching sides. It's a rebalancing of the power balance in the region. So yes, the United States has been much more in the Sunni camp, and that really is a result of the alienation from Iran following the revolution in '79. But, it's always been natural for the United States to have some sort of relationship with the main Persian Gulf power in Iran. And, the politics had to realign, and there were, of course, big ups and downs. But look at the situation in the Middle East. The United States cannot afford a direct confrontation with Iran when there are much bigger issues to deal with, from Russia to China and elsewhere. And so the United States needs to be able to rely on the existing players in the region and have them effectively duke it out. So it's Saudi on the one hand, Turkey, another big Sunni player, and Iran on the other side of that sectarian divide. And that competition is going to play out, and the U.S. will keep some distance from it. But, that is part of U.S. strategy in managing this region overall, is to allow those regional players to compete.
Without us in the middle of it, then. Well, okay, so just one last question, Reva. Where does this go from here? Does it escalate? Does it cool down? Does it stay the same?
It's a blip, so we're going to see, of course, there's, more diplomatic action to take, more condemnations and things like that. But I think the real focus here is where's the main proxy battle that's being waged between Iran and Saudi Arabia? That's in Syria right now, and Lebanon by extension. And of course, there are a number of constraints there when it comes to trying to come up with some sort of viable political arrangement in Syria. I don't think that's coming anytime soon. On the energy front, of course, there's competition there. We have additional Iranian oil coming onto the market. That is going to depress prices further. Saudi needs to assess, the impact to the market before it decides whether to cut output itself later in the year. So, those are the areas where I would look for, in the wider sense of the Iranian-Saudi relationship. But most immediately, I think we just need to keep a close eye on the security situation within the Saudi kingdom, not only when it comes to the Shia unrest, but also when it comes to Sunni jihadist attacks that are not only taking place in the Sunni areas, but also in some of those majority Shia areas like the eastern province.
Yeah, all good points. Thank you so much, Reva Bhalla, for putting a real perspective on this.
Of course.
Thanks, and check out foxnews.com for more on this developing story. I'm KT McFarland. Thanks for watching Defcon 3.